Madam Chair, we're ready to begin the meeting.
Good afternoon. I'd like to call the January meeting of the Meridian Arts Commission to order. Our mission is to develop, advance, and nurture all facets of the arts to enhance the quality of life for Meridian residents and its visitors. With that said, I'd like to do a roll call. Lizzie Taylor.
Here.
Jessica Peters.
Here.
Natalie Schofield.
Here.
Bonnie Griffith here. Bobby Guyton.
Here.
Patrick O'Leary.
Here.
Jennifer Kevinus Williams. Thomas Vanucci. Anna Scoville. Could I have an adoption to the agenda?
Madam Chair, I move that we adopt the agenda as written.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda has been adopted. And I guess I should mention at this point that Jennifer and Thomas are, neither one are going to renew their.
Thomas let me know that he was resigning a few months ago at the end of his term. And Jennifer is resigning a little bit early. Both had some attendance and just being able to make the meeting sort of issues. Madam Chair, and with that, I just want to mention, I think most of you saw that the announcement that the open seat is out. So we will have some new commissioners probably appointed by the mayor's office soon.
Next is the approval of the minutes. Everybody had a chance to look at the minutes from the December 8th meeting. Did I get a motion to approve?
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the minutes from our December 8th, 2022 meeting.
I have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes from the December 8th meeting are approved. Next, item number 2 is the approval of the monthly financial statement. Could I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I move that we, what are we doing? We approve the
Financial.
financial statement.
Could I have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The monthly financial statement is approved. Under new business, we have the presentation for the 2023 Neighborhood Grants Program. Jacob Kloof, the Community Relations and Policy Advisor. Step on up.
For the record, my name is Jacob Clough, Community Relations and Policy Advisor for the. I don't think you guys want to hear my stomach. Sorry about that. Sorry. So again, my name is Jacob Clough, Community Relations and Policy Advisor for the City of Meridian. I'm here before you for a presentation for the Community Grants Program here for the City of Meridian for the 2023, 2024, or 2022, 2023 program. In front of you, you have 2 pieces of paper that were given to you. One is a 2-year plan and one is the current program plan. The one we will be going off of right now is the 2023 Neighborhood Grants Program. The overview of this grant program is a participatory budgeting process that was created in 2021 and administered in 2022. What we're looking to do is to find individuals in our community that are looking to beautify and improve areas of public use. We've had in the previous program, in this last year, we had 19 applicants with 3 of them being approved. Many of the times these projects are able to be used and fit the criteria, but it is scored by the council at a certain point. And once we're at that 50 grand or when we're at that threshold for the budget, we have to stop. What we're going to be looking for in this is the eligibility aspect and the criteria. I'm not asking anything of the commission. I just want to inform you so you can go out and market it just like I'm marketing it right now. Right now, if you can look at the subsection, eligibility and criteria, We have we're going to be scoring on a couple of aspects. We'll have a uniform scoring across the board and reportable aspects to that. What we're looking for is capacity engagement with neighborhoods and with citizens. We're looking for public spaces that need to be improved. We have art projects, we have garden projects. We also have partnered or not partnered, but given a grant to the Legion program or the Legion Hall across the way for a proper flag disposal. It can be used in any way as long as it's on public property and benefits the public. Right now it opened on January 6th. It will close on March 6th. And you can see the rest of the scoring deadlines as well as notification. We're going to turn that around relatively quickly. And we want to have the projects be notified before summer. Idaho, we get pretty cold. It's relatively hard to pour some concrete or build something on a frozen ground. As well, we have the criteria and what we're going to be scoring off of and what we're looking for. That is going to be up to the commission, or not up to the commission, up to the council on what that will look like. We're going to be looking for descriptions, drawings, blueprints, where this location is going to be, what the impact is going to be, and what your track record is going to be. When we're saying track record, if you are a organization that's applying for this, do you have the ability to be able to administer this grant? Do you have a track record of this? Are you partnering with people that know what they're doing, contractors, builders, volunteers? And do you have a standing within the committee or within the community to be able to get this done? As you can see, there's a couple of different places here. The next page is the 2-year plan. This is not an official document and will change as we go. But the FY 2024 timeline is on there too as well. I am very brief in my presentations when I go in front of committees, so I'll stand for any questions.
Thanks, Jacob. Does anybody have any questions for Jacob at this point?
Yes, maybe I missed the boat, but how, you say you have art projects? How does this either coalesce with or be antagonistic to public art?
It is going to be complementary. We're not looking to take away anything. It's not dealing with your budget or anything within the commission's budget. It's going to be complementary because we want to have art projects within that. If you look at the first page that I referenced, the 2023, 2020, or 2022, 2023, I can't get off the 2024 train for some reason. It talks about the beautification process and what it offers to the city. And you have to have a open forum for how you're going to be doing it. So let's take, for example, the Legion Hall that we gave a grant to. They're going to be administering a public process to be able to look for artwork for the sides of the disposal canisters. It'll be patriotic artwork that they're going to be asking the public to submit some forms of applications on what the sides should look like, engaging with the public in that way. Did that answer your question?
Not really.
Not really.
Who's the judge of?
Oh, city council will be making up that would be the judges or the panel for that.
Would there be anybody from the Meridian Arts Commission? Public Arts?
Not at this current time. And it is not set in stone and neither has that. But if you would like me to, I can definitely report back with you, Commissioner, on that if there's a possibility to be able to include you.
Not to make things more complex than they already are, at least in my mind. I think it would be helpful to, because it's kind of this group, this group, this group, and we need to have cohesion. We need to have art that looks not like other art, that is complementary to them. Helpful to have somebody from the public art subcommittee of the Meridian Arts Commission.
Any other comments?
I was just curious, besides the Legion Hall, what were the two other, were they actual neighborhoods where you go and, what were those grants? What do they look like for going forward?
Yes, and Madam Chair and Commissioner, what that looks like is we have the Bear Creek Playground. It's going to be a combination of a beep beep Jeep. Right? It's a very crazy and funny name, but it's going to have some playground aspect to it and a little bit of art to it. And then as well, we have the pollinator garden at Heroes Park with the Meridian Gardeners Co-op, I believe it's called. And they will be administering that in the summer. These are all programs that are, while they're not directly with art, such as a mural or a piece on a side of a building, they're allowed to bring art within it. And it'd be great to have more a beautification process from the art committee and being able to use your network to grow this program.
Yeah, just a question and following what Lizzie was talking about. If you and when you do a project, you guys ever looked into or talked about the arts commission? Maybe one of the projects could be incorporated art, maybe road or make it, provide more funding for that. And so yeah, that's the first.
So to address that, I would make sure that I'm not overstepping and would be talking to legal on that. And I don't know if the crossover can happen if a grant is given to someone and then coming in as a supplemental from your budget. I would not want to overextend or say anything on the record that would put us in a compromising position. But it would be great to be able to partner with you. And that's why I'm really in front of you right now. One, to be informative, but as well, I just want your feedback. It would be great to understand what you see in the community and how we can improve, or maybe you can find somebody that would be willing to go for a grant program or apply for a grant program, and widen our horizon on who is getting and who is seeing this. And I hope that answered the question on that.
Yeah, the second question was, when you guys do a search for artists, are they just limited to local artists?
So we wouldn't be searching for artists. So let's take, for example, the projects that we would be doing. These are organizations and an individual that is putting this together. The stipulation is you have to be an organization within the city limits and or an individual within the city limits. We can't really step outside of that, as this is money from the citizens, and we want to make sure that it's used by citizens. Cutting out here, sorry. We want to make sure that it's used by citizens properly in the area, and yeah.
No, I mean, I was referring to if somebody wants to say, if when they do their artist, is it limited to local, regional, or they go outside?
Well, I wouldn't have a direct answer for that one, but we do have a small maybe address to that part of yours. It would be the stipulation of putting it out to the public, and I would take that as having to be within city limits. But I can follow up with you on that, sir.
Yeah, I was just thinking, mission has at least the ability to reach out, make a wider for those projects.
Commissioner, I will follow up with you on that. I do not have a direct answer for that one.
I have a question for you. First of all, thank you for joining us today and telling us about this. It's a great program. So if you are approached with an art project and you said it has to be on some sort of public space, is that art then maintained by the city, or is it maintained by organization or the artist that has proposed it? How does that work?
It would be maintained by the city, but we do have a different, so if we're talking about the pollinator garden, this is a volunteer program that has years of service to the Meridian area. they're going to keep up on that section. Let's take, for example, the BBT project that was approved for us. That's going to have a lot of Parks and Rec touching that program and be involved in that part of it. But again, if we look at the Legion Post, it really does depend on the project. Pollinator Garden's a great example, but the Legion program is another good example. They're getting two incinerators along with those boxes of disposal boxes. Those incinerators will not be on public property, but it's in connection with it. And so we're able to work with that if that's something that somebody would want.
Great, thank you. Yeah, the reason I ask is when we have public art, at parks or on various buildings where we have an easement, the artist provides information about how to maintain the piece of work. And if it's at a park, that includes Parks and Rec folks doing any kind of washing or maintenance or anything like that needs to happen. So just putting it out there that that's something to consider.
And just to follow up on that too as well, within the application, it does talk about what the maintenance is going to be in the future. And we do have to consider that. We don't want to be adding something that's going to need, if it costs 15 grand every 2 years, that's a pretty big ongoing ask for us. So we do ask that within the application process. And there's other parts of that application process, which on your piece of paper, you do have the website to be able to go to that. So that's meridiancity.org / neighborhood grants. And it should send you to the landing page. We've tested it multiple times. And we've even done the wrong spelling on things too, just in case.
So Jacob, is your group, do you report to the Parks and Rec department?
So I would this is administered by the city. I do not report to the Parks and Rec. I report to my supervisor, which is Dave Miles, chief of staff. We are in collaboration, and we would have, if anything's going into Parks and Rec area maintenance by them, we would be using them as a source and making sure that we're not adding to their workload as well, finance and other sides of it.
Anybody have any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Commission.
Next item on the agenda is the 2023 Meridian Arts Commission Chair and Vice Chair elections. The Meridian City Code directs us to hold elections in the first meeting of each calendar year. Our bylaws state that the offices of the commission shall include the commission chair and commission vice chair. I will now take nominations from the floor for the office of chair. Don't everybody speak at once.
Madam Chair, I nominate Jessica Peters for chair.
Jessica Peters has been nominated for the office of chair. Are there any other nominations for chair? Seeing none, the nominations for chair are now closed, and I will take nominations from the floor for the office of vice chair.
Madam Chair, I nominate Natalie Schofield for the office of vice chair.
Natalie Schofield has been nominated for the office of vice chair. Are there any other nominations for vice chair? Seeing none, the nominations for vice chair are now closed. I propose that we now vote on the nominations as a slate and by acclamation, since both nominees are running unopposed. Is there a motion to elect Jessica Peters as chair and Natalie Schofield as vice chair? Second,
Madam Chair, I second.
it's been moved and seconded that we elect Jessica Peters for chair and Natalie Schofield as vice chair. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations, you now have a new chair and new vice chair. Item number 5 is brainstorm and identify 2023 all commission goals. I think that was attached to the agenda.
Madam Chair, I have on screen the 2022 all commission goals and priorities that were adopted. And on the second page is the 2023, a proposed draft of goals for 2023, working off of the goals from 2022. And this document does not have. Okay, well, we'll work through it. It doesn't have the editing that the other one had. I don't know why. So we're,
Cassie?
yeah,
Sorry, you can, if you click on the review tab and where it says simple markup, click on the drop down and say all markup.
thank you. Thank you. So the support the completion of the Meridian mural series. There's only one remaining, so support the completion of the mural series. I need to edit the wording there. At the ward pool. And then instead of support the completion of water metrics, or no, so it should say support the completion of water metrics at the 5 Mile Creek Pathway Trail Hub instead of the selection part of that project. Program the monthly gallery exhibits, that one stays the same. Tully Skate Park is one that's completed. So I crossed that one out. Kept this one for increase inclusive programming through representation of diverse populations and marketing to underserved and underrepresented populations. Change this one, just updating the year. Engage the community through Art Week and participate in programming and marketing events. Same for concerts on Broadway series. I might just add in 2023. Pursue development and completion of a public art plan through researching options from professional public arts contractors. That's the same as previous year. Maintain the traffic box series, select artworks, approve locations, and commission installation of new traffic box wraps. And instead of develop the RFP, we did that. We have the call for performing arts up right now. So use the new call for performing arts projects to facilitate selection projects to support youth performing arts programs through partnership and fiscal sponsorship. And then I just crossed out the specific organizations. And this one remains on there to support the development of Discovery Park project and present 2023 Tammy DeBeard's Awards in the Arts. And open that up to the commissioners for any edits that you would like to see or other things that you'd like to add for goals and priorities.
Speak up.
I think this whole thing is excellent, good editing. And why make something that's kind of really good as it stands more complex by adding? It's just fine as it is, my humble.
Yeah, Cassie, I was just wondering whether or not, do any of these cover what you guys were? Committee of like the poetry.
That's not on there specifically. One thing that actually is a goal that I might add would be something like that, prioritize ongoing and future public art projects. I know that's one of the main, and I've already drafted the agenda with Bobby. One of the main things in the next public art meeting is sort of looking at a lot of projects that have been brought up and prioritizing which ones to really work on. So
Thank you.
So does this need to be voted on then, the approval of the goals?
yes, looking for a vote. Last time we did a ranking sort of thing, and this was kind of the order that they were ranked in. All of these are goals. If they're ranked higher or lower, that doesn't. It helps me to know what the commission, what the top priorities are to achieve. You could approve them as is, these ones that are on there without doing the ranking. But I am prepared to do a voting and ranking on these goals too.
Madam Chair and Cassie, I just have one question for clarification regarding the item that you just added, the prioritize. To clarify, what you mean is develop a list of public art priorities, right? So I would suggest amending that in some way. The way it reads right now, it sounds like we're going to prioritize public art over everything else, which I'm sure is not the case. So.
So with that, or do we want to leave these as written? Any other discussion? If not, then maybe a motion to approve the list.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the list of 2023 goals as is.
Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
I
Opposed? The 2023 all commission goals stand as written. Item number 6, proposals. Illustrators for the 2023 Concerts on Broadway series poster. Cassie, do you want to take that, please?
Yes, just give me a moment to bring that up on the screen. So I'm coming to you with a proposal for the concerts on Broadway. And I have brought up some of in the upcoming slides, I'll bring up some of what the posters have looked like in the past and what artists we might use in the future. So I'm kind of proposing that we use a professional illustrator to design the concert posters. And I reached out to about 6 or 7 artists that I knew that were illustrators that did concert posters or had other illustration experience. And with that, here's the background of what the concert posters have looked like. There's a lot of graphics. We use the city colors a lot, the blue and yellow. Here's 2014, 15, and 16. 17, 18, 19. That one on the far right doesn't use as much of the city colors, but that one was kind of one that had some more interesting and cohesive graphics in my humble opinion. And then the last 2 years, this is the poster we used. I think it was the Parks and Rec marketing coordinator that developed the first one. And I kind of liked having something a little bit cohesive. And so went with that for the following year. But wanted to look at using an artist to do these concert posters. So here are, also, and I let the artist know that the budget for this would likely be $300 to $400. And so they were asked to send estimates and work 3 or 4 pieces that were similar to what they think they would submit for Meridian. So these are not exactly what they would do. It would work with them to come up with imagery and have the final design approved by the commission. So Kelly, and I never know if it's Canop or not, but he's done a lot of work, has a lot of existing concerts posters specifically, and he sent more than the 3 to 4 images. So this is a few more that he has. And these are all people in the Treasure Valley area, all locals. Dana Wagner. And she said she'd likely do something like that fourth example on the far right, but using like a city hall background and using the banner. And she likes to put text over things that are sort of in the posters like that banner, and using musicians instead of the types of characters that she has in that one. Ben Kunkel, you might recognize that name. He did the mural at the, thanks, Lizzie. Yes, the Meridian Cycles. And he illustrates for things like the New York Times, and he's really has kind of an impressive career and portfolio. He doesn't do as much with lettering. So with his, he would sort of direct what the lettering might look like, but that would be up to me to come up with the lettering, which is no problem. His estimate is highly discounted from his regular rates. Normally, this kind of thing would be $1,000 for him. So that's kind of the rate that he said would be closer to the budget. And he said he'd do something like a saxophone player or maybe a different musician with like instruments and musical icons. See how the planes and the icons are kind of in there. So it'd be like little icons dotted with the scenery from City Hall and the plaza and surrounding area. Julia Green is another local illustrator. These are some of her pieces. She likes to work with limited color palettes, and I would steer her probably towards the sort of blue and yellow that are the city colors, and illustrate using the flat shapes and with the texture and line work. Miguel is the artist that did the Tully skate park, and he submitted these pieces. The second one over and the fourth one are not as much like concert posters, but just I think he sent those ones for some of the imagery, like the musician playing, so you get a feel for what he might do. So my recommendation is to choose one of the illustrators. And so with that, I'll open it up for comments, feedback, thoughts.
Madam Chair and Commissioners, Cassie, I think this is a great idea, and I love the folks that you have approached so far. This reminded me that years ago, Bonnie might be the only one who remembers this. We used to do a poster contest for Art Week. So I'm wondering what you think about either doing that or incorporating Art Week posters into this as well, and maybe increase the budget a little bit.
I did think about that for
Mhm.
Art Week too. And I saw that there was that poster contest. Speaking from a little bit of, I'm going to expose some bias here. Poster contests are, you ask artists to do a lot of work, sometimes put a lot of things and a lot of thought into it without any sort of compensation for creative capital. So if we were to do some sort of call to artists, I would really like to recommend that it's more of a invitation to submit previous work and then work with someone based on that so that they are not doing work for free.
Yep. Yeah.
Are you maybe suggesting that if we choose someone for concerts on Broadway, that we would also increase the budget and then say, could you also do, or maybe change the contract to be a poster for the concerts on Broadway, and also for Art Week, we could have, since they're around the same time?
Yeah, it was,
What you were thinking?
yeah, just a thought as an opportunity to have some sort of consistent marketing because they're around the same time, and
Yeah, one thing I was looking at these and thinking in experience I've had, one thought came to mind was that is really important. The public recognizing just from the look what it is and wondering, and what you guys think. I mean, is it possible to do like a random almost one that using something like that. So that, so that's their uncle. But something like this, I mean, if that's your background, it's style. And then the only thing that changes on those, that's generally the information included on it. And that we do that, if we can do that, then. So, A, it might save us money over the long run. And B, that possible with it.
To answer your question, yes, I think a 3-year contract's definitely doable, yeah.
Commissioner Patrick, I like the idea, but I also like the idea of giving opportunities to artists. You know, the branding is important, but if you look back at the years, previous years, there's no consistency other than the color, which could be part of the branding. We could limit the color palette. I just like the idea of giving the opportunity to as many artists as we can, because this is an amazing selection. So if we build on the reputation that we're giving opportunities, they don't have to wait 3 years, but it'd be more consistent turnaround for an artist to be involved in these kinds of projects.
I agree with Commissioner Gaytan. I like to spread the wealth, so to speak, among more artists than I do among fewer. I think all of these are strong in their own right. I don't think we can make a selection today. I mean, we can't, it doesn't matter. But I think that the branding continuity would be quite significantly increased over prior years if Concerts on Broadway and Art Week were branded by artist A rather than 3, I think 3 years is just too long. Most people don't have a really long attention span. I don't know. It's just, I just don't like the 3-year idea, with all due respect.
I don't think you're not branding something if you're using different artist styles every year. You know, so if you have a template established that the artwork fits into, then that's more of a branding. But as far as, I mean, if you're looking at all, these guys are all, you know, way across the board. So
Yeah.
it doesn't matter to me, but if you're looking at branding, it's doing, this is not it.
Madam Chair, I also want to add that I mean, Cassie, I like that you're introducing illustrators to this. This could be, you know, I think people like collecting posters sometimes, especially if it's good art. And I see Kelly's work, I see Miguel's work, and if you see it on a poster, you know, I myself have had posters where I put up on my wall, and even after the event, because it's really cool art. And so I think this is a really good direction on especially these events. If we do include the art week, would be an extra bonus. But yeah, I totally like the direction of where it's going.
Any other comments?
Madam Chair and Commissioners, I just have one question, and maybe this is more for Emily as well. Cassie, I appreciate that you've done the legwork of finding some artists whose work could work on this. I guess I'm curious about the policies or the process associated with sort of handpicking a list to choose from, as opposed to doing a call. And I know doing a call to artists always requires a lot more time and effort. And so I don't mean to make more work if it's not necessary, but I just want to make sure that we're within the bounds to sort of, you know, decide that we're going to choose some artists. It's different from sort of, or maybe this is considered a contract. And so it's, you know, a little for a service rather than, you know, selecting a piece of art like we usually do with the public art subcommittee. So if you could speak to that.
Yes, this one. Yeah. Madam Chair, Commissioners, so good question. This is art is a professional service. So there are different rules for professional services and when we're purchasing a fungible good or service. So in this case, it's legal and in compliance with our purchasing policy to handpick kind of some, you know, curate some favorites and then pick the one that's right for the job. So with art, and there's some other professions too, like well, lawyers and architects and people who kind of specialize in their field. So in this case, it is okay to do it this way. We do, even when we can handpick professional services, we do sometimes issue a call to artists or an RFP or an RFQ just to kind of have a big pool to choose from, but in this case, that's not necessary.
Thank you.
Cassie, what would the budget increase if we were including both Art Week and concerts?
So it would depend on the scope of work. It would depend on the artist. And I would imagine if they're doing really similar, it would just depend on what they were doing exactly, I guess. I don't know how to be too much more specific than that.
Oh, I was just thinking from a standpoint of what the combined budget for this was more than what's concert.
So this would be part of the Concerts on Broadway budget, which, by the way, I didn't mention, I got the, yeah, Art Week's budget is $2,000 this year. Concerts on Broadway, we got the Meridian Development Corporation did $10,000 and I got the budget amendment. So Concerts on Broadway is $20,000 this year, which is what it was last year too. So we do have more money in that budget for this kind of thing than there is Art Week budget.
As a commission, do we want to select one of these artists then for poster?
Madam Chair, I'm just going to give my input specifically. I think all of these are great. The fact that we already have art by Ben and Miguel within the city, and don't get me wrong, I love their art. And I just watched something that Miguel had done for Patagonia, which was really cool. So, you know, I guess my vote is for one of the other artists just to, you know, bring some more diversity of art into the city.
Who did the last poster for the Art Week?
I just did the design. It wasn't really.
No,
very-
I meant the one,
Oh,
the ones that we put the call out to. We contracted. It wasn't any of these.
No.
Does Kelly have 2 pages?
He does. He submitted more work. Yes.
I like Commissioners, I like this artist and I agree with Commissioner Peters. And Dana and Julia both, for me, have my top vote.
I really like Kelly's work. I'm not, I think maybe it's a little edgy for what we're looking for, but I really like it. But I would support any of the other. That probably doesn't help, sorry.
Madam Chair, Commissioners, if you want to do different artists that have not, we've not commissioned for other things, that would leave Kelly, Dana, and Julia's work. And if you want to do ones on different years, if you wanted to prioritize them, potentially we could have a plan. I did let the artist know that whatever, I would let them know which direction the commission wanted to move after this meeting. So if you wanted to sort of make a plan for following years, I could let them know that that was sort of the plan too. Or you can do a vote.
I have to say, being contrary, because that's what I do a lot of. I really like Kelly's work. I think if Kelly could de-edge a little bit, it might be a little bit more suitable for Meridian. I think Dana Wagner's work is very childlike. It doesn't have, it's just a little too, when you wish upon a star, a dream comes true, in my humble opinion. And Julia Green is cute, but cocktail meatballs, I mean, really. It just doesn't do it for me. I like the colors in the right-hand one, if they were a little bit more blue as opposed to turquoise. But frankly, none of these are just really rocking my boat.
I think I would
I
tend to
agree.
with Lizzie as well. I really like Kelly's work. I think if you can make something that's a little more family friendly, just for this use, again, I like the edginess personally, but I get that it's not necessarily quite right for Meridian's sort of family centered stuff, but it could be if he felt comfortable. I mean, if that still worked with his style, so.
Madam Chair and Commissioners, he did submit specifically concert posters, but I've seen other things that are much more conservative. So he's happy to work within design parameters.
Yeah, and Kelly's work is amazing. He could totally adapt to what we would ask of, and his work is very well known in the community in terms of posters, and I think it's recognizable, and I think we would be lucky to have his work as our first artist of this type of event.
Do we just need to take a vote and all say aye on Kelly?
Does there, anybody have any other comments about that artist or any of the others? If there's a consensus, should we take a vote to ask Kelly not to do the posters for concerts on Broadway? We just need to do a motion. I have a motion.
Madam Chair and Commissioners, I move that we invite Kelly Knopp to produce for our consideration posters both for Art Week and for concerts on Broadway. A second?
Madam Chair, I second.
Aye.
Opposed? We will ask, that the motion is carried for Kelly Knopp to produce posters for concerts on Broadway and Art Week. Next item, number 7, is a recap of Christmas in Meridian ornament drop. Bessie?
Yeah, I'm happy to start that off. If anyone else has any comments about that too. I'll just talk about my experience. When I went out that morning, there were several ornaments. I was surprised to see somebody, I can't remember what the name was. It was like Ashley or Emily, but it was just one. Emily. Yeah, they had put out 20 pieces throughout the downtown. It was kind of surprising. And then when I went to the Children's Winterland Festival and then came back out an hour and a half later, and they had put out new ones too throughout the day. So I don't know who that was, but thank you, Emily, whoever you are. The weather was pretty cold and windy. It was not the best weather. And most of the ornaments that I noticed were kind of around the Generations Plaza tree. There weren't tons of pieces in other areas. But there were some families that were out there that I saw picked up some pieces and I had no idea that they did this. This is so great. Saw a few families picking up many pieces instead of just one. There's not a lot you can do. And I didn't see very many people reshare on social media things from, because they're encouraged to do that. But again, there's no way to make them do that. So that was kind of my experience.
Cassie, the one thing I thought of, because I saw that you had posted a few that were claimed or some pictures. I wonder if next year we could just say like DM at Meridian Arts, send us a photo and then we could share it. Like if you're happy about your ornament or whatever. Because I think most people, if they have a private account, will never see it. So even if they hashtag it or whatever, we're not going to see that if they have a private account. So maybe that's a way to get more out there.
I definitely like that idea. I think that would be more, that might, yeah.
I think also that everything seemed like it was hanging on the tree in Generations Plaza. And if there's other areas that you want to target for art ornaments to be hung, place for it, whatever. It probably needs to be specified. So that. Yeah. Tree was convenient. Any other comments? If not, on to item number 8, updated initial point gallery. Natalie?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Our current exhibit is still the Boise Open Studios Collective. That was hung in December and will go through the end of January. Lizzie hosted our opening, so I will let Lizzie tell us how that went.
The opening was really, really good. We had 48 sets of eyeballs at that opening. And that's, considering the time of the year and it was cold and it was all that sort of stuff. And the exhibit itself is absolutely beautiful. I would encourage you to send photos of it to your friends, your neighbors, whatever. It's an outstanding exhibit. Bosco, I know, very much appreciates the support that it is given by Initial Point Gallery and the Arts Commission. So spread the word, people.
And then next in February, we have an upcoming show called Mountains to Meadows, celebrating with Cindy Walton, Mary Arnold, Angela Newert, Claire Remsburg, Jill Story, Jesse Swimley. And the opening reception will be on Tuesday, February 7th. We are switching our opening night from Friday to Tuesday. Hopefully we'll draw more people in. So if you need a Tuesday evening, something to do, come on by on February 7th. Oh, and also we have March we need a host. And now that if Jennifer's resigning, she had 2 places on the calendar. So May and September as well. So if anyone hasn't thrown their hat in for a month, let me know and I'll put you on the calendar. And I think that's it.
Quick question, was she the one that volunteered for the West Ada show? I will gladly take that for her. Thank you.
That one is September, right?
May.
May? Okay, thanks, Hannah. Wait, so do you want to do May and June, or would you like to just do May?
Maybe just May for now, but
That's
I mean,
great.
if needed, I can totally do June as well.
No, we'll just make that change. Thank you.
Commissioner Natalie, September, I haven't put my name on for, I was waiting for my daughter's softball schedule. And usually all of spring leading into summer, but I think September what? 19th.
Yeah, just to note that that opening was changed to, instead of being the first Tuesday, to coincide with Art Week. So it's a little bit of a different date during the month.
Is the opening for Art Week going to be on Tuesday or is it going to be on the Friday?
The opening for Art Week will be on Saturday, September
Saturday, oh.
16th with the community art party.
Commissioner, what was the theme for that? September.
It's a group show. I might not know all the artists off the top of my head, but I think it's Bonnie Peacher and Heather Hainsworth. The theme is people and places, and it's group show of 5 artists.
Item number 9, update on staff reports. Kathy.
So update for some public art projects, the 5 Mile Creek Pathway Trail Hub. She has her permit from the city and her engineering stamp of approval. So she's got her first 2 deliverables. She's well on her way and going into fabrication over the next 5 months. It's very tedious mosaic sort of work. I'll keep you posted on that, but plans for installing that this summer. The pool mural. Ward just approved their easement this Monday at their meeting. So all the paperwork on that is good to go and planned for installation in April. The special traffic box project, this is the one with the student artwork at 10 Mile and Pine, was approved by City Council. And I also have a really nice note on that. I contacted the vinyl vendor and they said that they will not be charging the parent for that project. They will do this free of charge for printing and installation. Yeah. So also just want to note that the parent they are so gracious and thankful to everyone for everything, and it means a lot to them. The installation for the traffic boxes have to be during warmer weather. So I'm going to send them the things right now and I think they'll get it ready, but wouldn't happen until spring. Good question. We put out there's a new roster for the parks identity and theming public art projects. There are 9 artists that I think they're waiting on the contract to sign, but we have 9 artists and artist teams that are approved through the RFQ process for public art projects. So the Arts Commission on our projects can either use people from that roster or do the RFQ, RFP sort of process, but using the artists on the roster will definitely speed up the process for projects. And then the Public Art Committee will be meeting and prioritizing several projects. One of the ones that I brought up last month was the Valley Regional Transit public art, potentially on the transit shelters. So I did meet with some of their staff. They're all for it. So we just have to get art designs to them, and they're happy to do it. So just, again, we could use people from that roster, or could put out a call for that. So that'll go to the subcommittee to discuss. along with the mural at Sage Point, traffic boxes, some potential sites that were just kind of mentioned to me, which is Fuller Park. Lakeview Golf Course came up from a councilman recently. So we'll discuss and prioritize, sort of have a list of what we want to prioritize. And what else am I updating on? Oh, the call for performing arts projects is up on the website. Please help us promote and let anyone that you know that might be interested in that know about it. And first Tuesdays in downtown Meridian. So several people have brought up sort of the idea, Boise does first Thursday and Garden City does first Friday. And I think Eagle does third Thursday. And Nampa has, I can't remember which day of the week. But lots of cities have this kind of, businesses stay open a little bit later and hopefully maybe there's some, an art walk or something. And so trying to kind of get the momentum going there. And the downtown committee is meeting tomorrow. So they'll kind of be talking about that. It's not something that would be housed within the Arts Commission. But, if you're out and about with the downtown businesses, I've talked to many of them, so they're kind of aware that maybe that's a thing. So I'm trying to kind of help get that off the ground, although I'm probably not the contact point for that. Be great if the chamber would do it. So stay tuned. And I think that is all I have to update on. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, item number 10, City Attorney's Office presentation, agreements and payments for Arts Commission goods and services. Emily?
Thank you. Thank you. What? It's weird. Right. I'm gonna move pretty quickly. I think you all know me. I'm Emily Kane. I'm a deputy city attorney in the city attorney's office here. I'm again gonna just kind of blaze through this, but if you have questions or would like me to slow down, just interrupt anytime. So this is a quick overview of how the city executes agreements and makes payments for goods and services that relate to max initiatives and get stuff done for this commission. So first, what is a contract? A contract is a verbal or written agreement to commit something of value. It's usually money. It's usually paying someone, exchanging goods and services for money, but it can also include staff time or actions. So making a commitment to have Cassandra do something or to have me do something, or our finance department. Same with the commission's time or individual commissioners' time or actions of the commission. It could be an agreement to take a position, make a certain policy, make a recommendation to city council. And finally, these are examples, by the way, but the last example I'll highlight is to accept a gift or a grant. So this involves a contract because grants, of course, usually come with many strings attached, and sometimes gifts do too. And sometimes with gifts, the city wants to impose its own conditions to make sure that it's a gift that we can handle given the resources that we have, which applies to grants too. So the commission does engage a number of services and buy a number of goods. These are a few examples. I won't read them to you, but it does include artists. Sponsorships is a big one. We extend offers to for folks to sponsor events, traffic boxes, public art projects. We do have vendors for different things, big and small, vinyl wraps, signs, name tags, the little name tags in front of you. We, of course, buy from a vendor. We have service providers, often consulting, and but other things too. We have partnerships with other entities in our community. And sorry for all the acronyms. I really won't read all those to you, but if you want to know more about any of them, I could tell you what they are. And then finally, we, of course, again, back to the grants, the Idaho Commission on the Arts is our our big grant provider historically, but also private parties do give us gifts. Contract negotiation. So negotiation is extending or accepting an offer or commitment. So everyone knows what it is to negotiate. You talk back and forth and you come to terms. Execution is when you sign a written agreement. So all the terms are written down, everyone agrees, or if you verbally come to a meeting of the minds. Written agreements can also include invoices or purchase orders or something a little less than a whole contract. So the takeaway message is that these people are authorized to negotiate contracts on the commission's behalf. So Cassandra, the Arts and Culture Coordinator, her supervisors, my office, usually me on behalf of this commission, and then our finance department. Our procurement manager does a lot of our kind of staff level contracts for the city. So that person does a lot of things for the commission as well. The commission's role with regard to contracts is to figure out the what. So what are we doing? You deliberate on proposals and ideas, and then you vote as a board to do something. You decide what to do, what to spend. Generally, you might set a not to exceed cap, which partnerships to pursue, which kind of grants to pursue, and then you act as a board to make recommendations to city council. So you're not, as a commission, authorized to negotiate or sign contracts, whether verbal or written. So you need to send that to me or Cassandra or our purchasing manager if you want something to be done. And we're always doing that on your behalf. So this staff's role is the how will we execute the will of the commission? We negotiate contracts, we draft them, we review them. We use our purchasing policy to decide how we're going to select vendors and find people to do things. We were just talking a little bit about that. We help draft and issue the RFPs and calls to artists and again, comply with our purchasing policy in doing that. There are also laws that govern municipal finance and how we buy things. So this commission typically doesn't get into the huge numbers that kind of trigger those. So, but they do generally apply to everything that the city does, which includes your contracts. Staff manages the commission's budget, and in executing and negotiating these contracts determines the specific amount to spend. So there's not necessarily a need to come back to the commission and say it's $2 more, it's $3 less. Is that okay? We just kind of make it happen within the general approval of what the commission has authorized. We determine the specific terms of an agreement. I'll also say if there's parameters that the commission wishes to impose, we can definitely talk about that. The commission can direct that as a board. And staff also executes contracts or sends them on to city council for their approval and the mayor's signature. So the purchasing policy is what authorizes staff to negotiate and sign contracts on behalf of the city. City council is the governing board of the city, and they've delegated that authority to staff through the purchasing policy. So that's how we work on behalf of the city to get contracts in place. As individual commissioners, certainly you're here to support and as the commission directs or as staff directs, but you're not authorized to negotiate or sign contracts on behalf of the city. So none of you individually are authorized to do that. And that same for volunteers. I'm thinking of members of our committees who are not commissioners. But unless you're a city employee or an elected official, you're not authorized to negotiate or sign contracts. You can ask us to or tell us to, but you can't negotiate or sign them yourselves. That's it. Any questions? Okay, well, this is where to find me.
Thank you, Emily. Item number 11 is inclusivity highlights. Hannah, I believe you're going to do this.
Okay. Okay, Up and down. Okay, sweet. So for my little inclusivity highlight, I chose to focus on National Braille Day, which was January 4th, because of our conversation last meeting where we were talking about Braille signage. And I just thought that would be something that's really applicable to our committee. And I also just wanted to focus on art accessibility in general because Braille was such a small topic within that. So the first thing I wanted to do is I did some research on just how many people we can affect by making sure our art is inclusive in Meridian. So I looked at specific numbers within Idaho and then compared the ratio of how much the population of Meridian is to the population of the state and kind of estimated on some numbers. So these aren't exact, but I think they're pretty close. So as far as like how many people are visually impaired in Meridian, that's like around 3,000, which is a lot. Hearing impairment, 13,000. Mobility impairment, so that's like wheelchairs, is 1,000. And then a language barrier, which is also something that art needs to cater to, has 8,000 in Meridian, which I actually did find a statistic in a census that gave me that number. So I just wanted to focus on a few things that I found within our community of places that have really made their art accessible to a lot of people and that I think we can learn a lot from. So the first is the Boise Art Museum. In their latest installment, they've really taken a lot of steps to make sure that their art is inclusive to a lot of people. This being large print labels, an audio guide for all of their art pieces, having a lot of Braille signage. And then a really awesome thing that I wanted to focus on a lot was tactile representation models. So this isn't for every art piece, but sometimes they'll create this like small 3D work that you can feel with your hands to kind of understand what the general artwork is without actually being able to see it. And while I couldn't find pictures of the Boise Art Museum specifically, here's a couple that I found of other artists or other art museums that have done this. So this is The Birth of Venus, and it's like you can kind of feel it, and if you can't see, it's really awesome. And then this is another one I found where it has like the actual textures going on in the paintings, and I just thought that was really awesome and a cool thing. The second place I want to talk about is the Morrison Center. My mom's actually a volunteer there, so she's told me a lot about what they're doing to take steps to make their art more accessible. One thing is there's an app called Gala Pro that they are about to implement. And this is a really cool app because they're dedicated to making performing art more accessible to people. And they do this by creating multilingual subtitles, closed captioning, dubbing, audio description, and they're really tailored to like performances, which are normally really difficult because that's kind of on the spot, but it's a really cool app that a lot of people can use to really understand what's happening without being able to see it or hear it or things like that. And then the last thing I want to talk about is more like physical accessibility. Something I heard about recently that I thought was interesting was maybe you heard about the Taylor Swift concert debacle with like the tickets selling out and going crazy. And something that I thought was really interesting and kind of sad was the ADA seats, which are for like handicapped people, were being taken by people that just wanted their seats to the concert really bad. And there was this lady that posted on Instagram whose daughter really wanted to go and had a wheelchair and she couldn't get the seats that she needed. And eventually she did get them, but that just kind of brings up the conversation that creating accessible places is really important. So whether that be moving signage down so it's not super high so that people in wheelchairs can see it, or just creating doors wide enough for that is something to think about. And then just to kind of sum it up, what can we do to make sure that we're thinking about inclusivity within our art decisions is, so talking to people. Like I said, my mom volunteers at the Morrison Center and she's an usher, which is really awesome. And before, or I should say at the beginning of the season, all the ushers had a meeting with someone who was in a wheelchair and they kind of gave their perspective on what is it like for them and how can they assist people like that. And that was a really helpful perspective. So I think talking to people that are in those situations is going to be the most beneficial. to making informed decisions. And then kind of going off of that, just conscious decision making. We're really good at being aware of people's needs. And so just continuing to do that, potentially looking into using apps like Gala Pro, maybe for concerts on Broadway, or I don't know if that's even possible, but research and testing, making space, kind of like I talked about, making things in multiple languages. We have a really large Spanish speaking community in Meridian, so catering to them would be important. And then also, I found this great resource that it's this consulting agency ? That is in Boise that it actually focuses on like making things accessible. And so maybe contacting them, they would have a lot of important feedback for that. So yeah, that's all.
That was awesome, Hannah. Thank you.
That's the last agenda item. Cassie, did you have anything else that you wanted to add? Okay, so I want to thank the commission. And this is my last meeting. So anyway, enjoy, carry on. I do need a motion to adjourn.
Before we adjourn, I just want to thank you, Bonnie, for all of your service over the time of the commission and especially as the chair. It's been really great working with you and having you here. And yeah, your knowledge and your experience has really been invaluable. So thank you.
I have a motion to adjourn. I'm leaving in
This is
2 minutes.
Madam Chair, I move that we adjourn the meeting.
In a second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.